Do you prepare a specific speech for the Brazilian people, or you have a basis for everywhere in the world?
I prepare a speech every time for not just the audience, but the moment in time that we are speaking, because it's changing so fast. You know, the AI revolution is accelerating, I think, beyond what even the leaders of this revolution imagined. If we think where we were 10 years ago and where we are right now, you know, nobody has any idea where we'll be even 5 years in the future.
It's incredible. Have a seat there. No, when we met, it was 2017. It's not 9 years from now. It was a whole different world.
Completely.
So, yes. So what do you think was the role of actually it is intelligent, artificial intelligence, the algorithms that rule social media? Mm-hmm. Did artificial intelligence, what role has it played during these years for so many deep and fast changes?
Now, one thing I think almost everybody can agree is that there is a lot less trust in the world now than 10 years ago. Not just the international order is collapsing, we see country after country divided against itself. And you know, this is one of the most remarkable things, that we now have the most sophisticated information technology in human history, and humans can no longer talk to each other, can no longer hold a conversation, agree on the most basic facts, be able to listen to what the other side is saying. Nobody understands exactly why it is so. It is clear that there is a connection between the technology and the collapse of human trust and human conversation, but it's happening so fast that we know some things. I mean, one thing that almost everybody realized by now is the major role played by social media algorithms, which are very primitive AIs, but they still created so much havoc around the world. But basically, these primitive AIs, they were given a simple task by the social media platforms: increase user engagement, make more people spend more time on the platform. And the AIs went into the world and experimented on millions of human guinea pigs and discovered that the easiest way to grab human attention is to press the hate button or the anger button or the fear button in the mind. And this is what they started doing. And fill the world with more and more hate and greed and fear. This is one mechanism, but this is not the only one. And for thousands of years of history, humans communicated mostly directly with one another, or with the mediation of things like texts, which ultimately could not speak. You needed a human to interpret the text. Now, more and more, I think the majority of human interactions are mediated by digital technology, by computers and screens and algorithms. And this could be a main reason why humans can no longer trust each other. And at the same time, you do see a rise in one kind of trust in the algorithms. You know, again, I talked about money, so I think this is one of the best examples we know, that at the same time that humans are losing trust in human financial institutions like banks or the Federal Reserve, you see a rise in trust in cryptocurrencies and in money which is actually algorithmic money. So something is happening around the world as humans are unable to talk with each other, are unable to trust each other, and instead shift their trust to the algorithms and to the AIs.
One of the points you make in Sin Sapiens is that what bonds us together as a community, a social project, human project, is believing in the same stories, sharing the same stories. We believe money has a value, so money has a value. Believe in human rights, so human have the rights. But now, and so stories are built upon language, human language. And AI is basically built upon our language,
It
human
masters
language.
our language. I think AI now masters language better than the vast majority of people.
So are we going to lose the ability of our main future as humankind, as making stories and believing in them?
Yes. I mean, again, we took over the world because of our ability to use language to build stories about gods, about money, about nations. And there was nothing on planet Earth that could compete with us in storytelling. Now there is. There is something better than us at storytelling, something which is increasingly controlling the arena of stories. You know, in the most important editors in the world today are not human beings. They are algorithms. And maybe I mention one more story. You remember the story of the Tower of Babylon, the Tower of Babel, in the Bible. So a friend just recently asked me, are we witnessing the same thing again? That, you know, in the story of the Tower of Babel, so all the humans got together to build this tower to the sky, to the heaven, to compete with God.
But they couldn't speak a common language.
They had a common language. This is why they could build the tower together. But then the trick God played on them was to confuse their languages, and they could no longer understand each other, and then everything collapsed. So she asked, is this what is happening right now? Like, we are trying to kind of build this godlike power of AI, and suddenly we lose the ability to communicate. So I thought about it, and I realized there is one big difference between what's happening now and what the biblical myth is telling. The tower is continuing to be built. Yes, like the language, people, I mean, even if they speak the same language, Hebrew or Portuguese or English, can no longer talk with each other. But somehow they are continuing to build the tower faster and faster. Because a tower is something that it's not an agent. We have to build it. AI is an agent. It's a tower that builds itself. So as the humans lose the ability to talk with each other, this godlike tower that we have built, it is increasingly in control. And yes, we can't agree on anything, but the tower keeps getting higher and higher, faster and faster.
Without any sense of moral, without any purpose, because AI is amoral per definition. And so how can we to instill morals, to provide a purpose to artificial intelligence?
Now, a lot of people who are working on this issue, how to instill some kind of morality into AI, and I was referring a little to it in my talk. It cannot be done in terms of just writing some line of code or solving a mathematical problem and inserting it into the AI. And we need to think about the AI as something more like a child than as a machine. It is something that learns and grows and develops and changes. And this has been a very old problem in human philosophy education. And we know, no matter how we educate a child, it then goes into the world and things happen, unpredictable things happen. So it's a new, you know, like you had an entire discussion, how to educate humans. Now the big question is, how do you educate AIs so that as they grow and go into the world and interact, they still adhere to certain basic moral principles or certain basic guidelines that we, our teachers or parents, provided them with?
You're implying that this kid, AI, this child, is a child of a dysfunctional family,
At
perhaps.
present, it is an extremely dysfunctional family.
The point is that this is a platform for hope. If we're getting together here to talk about these things, SP2B, we want to find ways out of this mess, of this trouble. One of the things that is a main feature of artificial intelligence, that its raw material, it's only the past, the stories that have been told, and everything that came before them. So the future is on us. Are we up to the challenge of, because that's the only area we can compete with artificial intelligence, originality.
Well, when you look at what humans have accomplished over tens of thousands of years, I think there is a lot of hope, because humans again and again proved their ability to do almost the impossible, which then we take for granted because it's there. But before we accomplished it, it seemed utterly impossible. And the other thing is, and I talked a lot about power, that we need to change or beware how we understand the world. There is a view of the world which is spreading on both the right and the left, that the whole world is just a power game. That everybody, the only thing they want is power. This is one of the things that is destroying the human conversation, is this idea, which again, you hear it both on the right and on the left, that whenever somebody tells you something, they are never interested in the truth. They are never interested in justice. They are just manipulating you to gain more power. And this is what is eroding trust in institutions, in the media, the courts, governments, other people. And the key thing to remember, and the source of hope, is that this is not just a very cynical view of the world, it is also completely wrong. Humans are complex beings. Yes, we want power in many situations, but this is not the only thing that we want. If people look at themselves, most people will realize that we also are genuinely interested in the truth, at least in some situations. We want to know the truth about the world, about ourselves. We have a genuine interest in love. We have a genuine interest in beauty. And if this is true of me, why assume that all the other people, they are just power-hungry demons? It's just not true. And again, when you look at history, again and again you see that humans are able to overcome this kind of ruthless hunger for power. Otherwise, we could never cooperate. We do know that, as I said, we have progressed from being able to cooperate only in tiny groups of a few dozen people to a cooperation on the scale of billions. You look, for instance, at science, which is behind the development of AI and so much else. Science is a global cooperative effort. It would not have been possible to develop AI if all humans were just power-hungry demons.
Yuval, thank you so much. Such an honor, such a pleasure to be with you. Sensacional. Acho que nós aqui...